Well, plenty of mixed signals from the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board's numbers from August. Home sales last month saw a bit of a lift in the GTA versus July, but the housing market continues to struggle to reach levels from August of last year. All right, let's break down the numbers this morning. Jason Mercer, frequent contributor here on CB24 Breakfast. He's the chief market analyst at TRREB. He joins us now live. So let's talk about what you found in those August numbers, because it looks like there's some bright spots and positive news coming out of the market, would you say?
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, we're still down from where we were last year a little bit, but again, if you look at the month-over-month numbers, saw a bit of a pickup there. And I think as we continue to see interest rates trending lower, we're going to see more and more people moving off the sidelines. But by the same token, I think that there are some home buyers out there who are saying, I jump in right now, but it certainly seems like borrowing costs are going to be even more or even lower, as we move to the end of 2024 and into 2025. And so there's also those households that are taking a bit of a wait-and-see attitude.
Yeah, it was interesting. Very strong signals from the Bank of Canada Governor Tiff Macklem yesterday, suggesting that in October and in December, it's likely we're going to see more rate cuts here. But, we had Chris Alexander from RE/MAX, right, where you're sitting yesterday, and he said it's really difficult to try and time the market because things change, right? If the rates go down, perhaps prices go up. How does that factor in? How do you see that playing out?
Yeah, 100%. We mentioned in our release as well that right now there's a lot of inventory in the marketplace. And so there's going to be that sort of relatively short period of time where people are able to take advantage of, very low or lower borrowing costs than what we experienced, say, a year ago. And then at the same time, they're going to have, quite a bit of choice in the marketplace. So there'll be negotiating power. But, the issue is that we're seeing record population growth as well. Yeah. And so we'll start to eat into that inventory. We'll start to absorb, those units that have been on the market for some time. And if we don't have that replacement, if we don't have that pipeline, of new supply, of new construction, then the market's going to tighten up pretty quickly.
Yeah, I realize you're a market analyst and not a psychologist, but when you do know, of course, you can see the trends of buyers and sellers. And when the rates are starting to come down, that clearly is a sign for buyers that, hey, maybe now is the time, or maybe you get a variable for a year or two and then kind of see where rates go almost. Yeah,
and if you look at what the Bank of Canada said yesterday, I mean, there's a couple of different signals. Number one, rates are going to continue to trend lower, but there also wasn't necessarily an indication of when these cuts are going to stop. And so, some people, as I said, are ready to buy now, but some people are saying, if I get 100 or even 150 more basis points off, that's going to make my decision even that much easier, and will also, dictate the type of home that I can move into as well.
Well, a lot of people are, and speaking of, what homes to move into, the supply comes up every time, we have these kind of conversations. How concerned are you or is TRREB, Jason, about the sort of slow pace of starts, particularly in Ontario?
Yeah, and it's all interrelated. So we report largely on the resale market, and right now there's a lot of inventory. So you're not seeing as many people saying, look, the market's really tight, so I'm going to visit a pre-construction sales center and purchase off of plans. We're not seeing that. And also, home builders are saying, look, there's a lot of inventory out there, so maybe now is not the time to launch a product. So there's always a bit of a disconnect in terms of timing, and that becomes more acute when you're thinking about, the record population growth you're seeing, and that we need to have that pipeline, for many years. And so, oftentimes sort of the short-term situation that we're in right now because of higher borrowing costs, affects what we see over the longer term in terms of, construction, because you're talking, years, right?
Yeah. And is this, do you see this as more advantageous perhaps for the first-time home buyers who've been trying to save up, trying to sort of get their down payments, and now seeing the costs of borrowing potentially coming down?
Yeah, I mean, first-time home buyers are extremely sensitive to borrowing costs. They don't have, as much equity built up. They're just using their savings, and they're moving into the market for the first time. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're seeing a very well supplied condominium apartment market, because first time buyers, that's their entry point for a lot of them is that condo market. And so once you start to see even lower borrowing costs, we'll see more first timers getting back into the market, and we'll start to see that the condo segment tighten up, but probably more so into 2025.
Okay, it's always fascinating to watch, and I really appreciate talking real estate with you, Jason Mercer.
Again.
Thanks so much. Appreciate this.